Another recommendation is to create a land and water conservation action program. And this would have specific goals and timelines, or milestones. So instead of just saying that we would like to preserve open space, start to set specific goals for how much, what are the priority areas, and when would we like to preserve them by. Also, maintaining and enhancing local participation in climate change mitigation, energy efficiency, and carbon neutrality. Recognizing the fact that Woodstock can become a cleaner, greener community. This is something that we want to try and enhance as much as possible. Exploring and promoting energy conservation projects wherever possible. Expanding the use of renewable energy sources. And as a subtopic of that is more specifically getting certified as a New York State climate smart community, which would allow the town to, if it had that certification, receive additional funding sources, specifically for green initiatives such as reducing energy and reducing energy use and greenhouse gases. Specifically support arts organizations and their funding efforts to strengthen the general colony of the arts identity that we have here. Woodstock obviously has a very strong artistic identity, and working to support all the arts organizations together as sort of a global combined whole so that they can work together and communicate in that way. Coordinate local artists to advance a local community beautification program. For example, because there are many artists here in town locally, these are folks that we could tap into to volunteer their time and effort to work with the community to do different beautification projects around the town. Also, coordinate with the other watershed towns on a Sawkill Stream Management Plan to address issues of water quality, flooding, habitat protection, and scenic beauty. The coordination part is important because we can't necessarily do this by ourselves in a vacuum. We're sharing a much larger watershed and river corridor with many other towns upstream, and so a coordinated effort to this is preferred. Review and adopt the draft water supply protection law and study the feasibility of using the underground confined aquifer as a viable backup water supply. Again, this gets back to ensuring that we have access to clean water in the future. On a related note, collaborating with the City of Kingston and the New York City DEP on future water resource protection, and evaluate and update the area wetland maps. Some other recommendations are assess the condition and capacity of the town water system and consider updates or expansions to neighborhoods that use it. Assess the condition of privately owned septic systems which are above the town aquifer. Again, speaking towards water quality issues, these are potentially septic systems that we could phase out and replace with a water system or a septic system so that we don't have any potential downstream contamination. Also, evaluate the potential expansion of the existing wastewater system to the western neighborhood commercial and C-zone and the light industrial LI districts and to properties between the Woodstock Hamlet and the treatment plant. Also, strengthening the scenic overlay district standards. This gets to protection of the visible beauty of the town, is making sure that the hillsides and so forth aren't stripped with development, and trying to strengthen the scenic overlay standards that we have and make sure that they are properly enforced. And also establishing a task force to periodically review the zoning law for possible changes. Developing an up-to-date online map which highlights all of the local attractions and provides information on parking, restrooms, and other services. This gets to working with visitors, tourists, and so forth, so that people are aware of what's the latest information on the different attractions. They have access to finding parking in the area and making it easier for them. One way to do this, as spelled out in the plan, is perhaps as a low-cost start, beginning to coordinate with all the Google Map information to make sure it's as up to date as possible.
Mike, if I could just stop you for 1 minute.
Yes.
Just I'll,
Oh, yes.
Sergeant Grant's in the back.
Oh, yes.
We just played a little trick on you guys. You have to make a phone call, but I just wanted to thank you very much on behalf of the town for August 2nd, when you and Chris were able to really make a difference in the gentleman's life. Thank you very much. Thank you guys. Thanks for rushing over to save me.
They took their time.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Okay. Last but not least, the town should ensure effective enforcement of all town zoning regulations and local laws. We have these laws for a reason. They're put in place for a reason, and if things fall through the cracks, if they're not properly enforced. And so this is getting back again to the protecting our strengths or building on our strengths. These things are here for a reason, and we want to make sure that in order for things to work properly, we have to follow the rules. On the topic of connecting people together, both physically and digitally, some issues and opportunities under this topic. Basically, in this modern world, more people are enjoying working from home via the internet now, more so than ever. And especially in Woodstock, we found one of the rather remarkable things from the survey is just the number of people here that have such jobs. I'm rather jealous. It's good. And this is a growing trend and something that can be capitalized on. Also, because of this, because of the growing sort of internet economy, this provides the ability for the creation of a lot of small local startup businesses, which are great. Local entrepreneurs, starting up small companies here locally, homegrown from the ground up, is a great way to start to build some economic diversity, economic sustainability, and these are things that we would want to promote. The ability to escape from the city and work here in Woodstock is a draw. Many people that I spoke to who have moved here came here to kind of enjoy the natural surroundings and get away from downstate. And this is something that is, like it or not, it's a fact of that. This is why people, a lot of the reason why people like to come here. And the arts and cultural institutions are a strong contributor also to the local economy. Also, the sense of community is enhanced by the ability for people to walk or bike around the community, talk to their neighbors, and get around more easily. Not the least of which is, the ability to maybe not use a car to have to go everywhere that we have to go. If you can walk or take a bike somewhere, that's always a plus. To safely connect to other destinations in the town. Improved sidewalks, trails, and bike paths are a community amenity. Lots of communities are starting to try and promote as much of this walkability and bikeability as possible, and it's becoming a local amenity that raises property values, and it's good for your health, it gets you outdoors. There are all good things about it, and this contributes to improving the quality of life for everybody, for residents and visitors alike. And improved transportation options can also help to alleviate parking and congestion problems. If people can walk around a little bit more or bike around a little bit more, there's less cars on the road, there's less parking problems. And so these all things in sort of the quote Douglas Adams, the fundamental interconnectedness of all things, they all play together and work together. And this is why I feel connecting people in this way and making connections to town are important. Many of the plan recommendations sort of fit into this genre, if you will. For example, the town should pursue the creation of new physical connections throughout the town, including new trails, bike paths, sidewalks, and alternative transit options such as shuttles or bus service. I saw the UCAT bus pull out earlier when we were here. I didn't realize it came up came up here. Specifically, appointing a complete streets advisory committee to start to look at exactly where this, some of this plan would be implemented, and a policy for future roadway improvements. Complete streets, if you're not familiar with it, is the concept that we should be designing our roadways to accommodate not just cars, as we've often done, but to also accommodate pedestrians and bicyclists in a safe and well-designed, attractive manner, so that everybody can use the corridors that we've all used for generations. And specifically trying to coordinate this work as much as possible with any planned roadway improvements. We know it's coming into town tonight that there's major road work going up the hill, and this is an obvious, opportunity at that point, opportunities like that to make some changes. If you're going to be tearing up the roadway and making infrastructure improvements, that's the opportunity to make some design changes. And so trying to plan ahead as other roads need to get improved and other utilities need to get improved, plan ahead for this would be a corridor that we can upgrade as we go. And also developing a long-range parking plan, looking at the current needs, inventory assessment, and future needs of how to handle parking in the town would be a great boon to trying to alleviate some of the problems, particularly also with traffic. Some other recommendations are conducting a traffic study of volumes and queues in Woodstock Hamlet to identify potential alternative routes to give people other avenues to go. Similar to the concept of connecting people, anytime you have a network of roads that gives people options to go different routes rather than just one arterial or so forth, you'll find that traffic is much less congested because people have other ways to get around and it's not everybody on one road. And so alternative routes would be a very good option for that. The town should continue to provide recreational opportunities for local relaxation and enjoyment, where people can come together, and especially for special events in town, anything where the community comes together, and for festivals and fairs in particular, a great way for neighbors to get to know each other and so forth. The town should also work to enhance cell phone coverage in the areas of the town where it's weak or lacking, while being cognizant of the fact that there may have some potential impacts, especially, for example, visual impacts on the hillside. So, in particular, reactivating the telecommunications committee to look at this issue more closely and start to make recommendations on what improvements can be made to improve cell service connectivity in particular in the western areas of town. The town should also work to enhance high-speed internet connectivity or fiber optic to all areas. This plays into the idea of, for many different reasons, but it plays into the idea of small startup businesses and business incubators, entrepreneurs who are looking to come here and start business, the ability for them to conduct their business with reliable high-speed internet could be a draw for many people. The arts community is recommended to work together to coordinate and leverage the sort of overall artistic identity of Woodstock, reach new audiences, attract new talent, and further economic development. In particular, we're looking at the idea of having the arts community work together, particularly for, you might have a regular arts forum where all the different groups come together, share their future plans for what that particular group is doing, coordinate their programming over the year so that it dovetails nicely with each other, look for partnership opportunities, and just generally work together to promote Woodstock as an artist destination. Improving the communication strategies to provide information about arts and cultural resources and events throughout town. We're talking about like a centralized communications platform, perhaps on the internet, where all of the different arts programs, activities can be coordinated in a central location. This would help to provide a spot where people can reserve space for performances and so forth. So they can schedule space arrangements and reservations, and also this coordinated marketing out to the outside world for different artistic events. And kind of tied into that, developing social media initiatives to attract younger artists, families, and entrepreneurs who share in the Woodstock vision. It's very important to try and get new artists in town who might not be able to necessarily afford to live everywhere, but trying to draw them in. Developing more regular, repeated townwide public events, such as art fairs, which would happen annually. Some of the idea behind this is that these big events that maybe happen like once a year, every year, generate a lot of attention and a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of critical mass because of their size and they're only once a year. Things like that really help to boost the presence of Woodstock, both regionally and nationally, and it sort of helps to market and promote the town of Woodstock as the home for these special events. Also, recommending promoting and allowing the development of shared workspace business incubators in cooperation with the Ulster County Economic Development Alliance. Again, this gets back to the idea of bringing people here, connecting through entrepreneurship and starting up new businesses. Business incubators would be a great potential way of having new businesses start here in Woodstock and providing a little bit more economic diversity. And the town should aggressively pursue public and private grant funding opportunities for a variety of town projects, many of which are listed in this comp plan, by employing a grant writer who would facilitate and assist the town with finding out all the different grant opportunities which are available and reaching out to provide grant assistance to the town or writing grant applications that would provide funding to do some of the things that we're talking about here in this comprehensive plan. On the topic of creating a community for all, a number of issues and opportunities here under this sort of heading. Woodstock is generally becoming an increasingly expensive place to live. It's prosperous, and in that way, unfortunately, it often makes it more difficult for younger families or young artists to move here or live here, including seniors. And the population of Woodstock is also growing older, with fewer young people and families. So we want to note it's important that the community be somewhat age diverse to be healthier, or a healthy community is an age diverse one. You don't want all your eggs in one basket. And it's usefully important to have younger generations in town who want to live here and stay here because they provide not just a vibrance to it, but also it's more economically sustainable. They provide jobs for local merchants or employment for local merchants. Young people, families, and artists are needed in the community for its employment and vitality, and so we want to try and diversify that as much as possible. Some of the plan recommendations are the town should support the creation of a variety of housing options so that younger families, seniors, younger artists, and others can be invested in the community. Many folks that work here can't afford to live here. It would be good if they could also live here. And specifically under that topic is establish a housing options development committee that would look at the best ways to do that. One of the things we discussed was overseeing the preparation of quote-unquote shovel-ready sites, which are have gone through some preliminary amount of design to develop a concept for a particular site that the town agrees is a good design and would be willing to sign off for, and you use that to bring to court, if you will, the type of developer that you would want to build it. And you say, we've done, a lot of the work for you, and we're pretty sure we can get you approved to build this if you'd be willing to come to our town and do what we want to be done here. That's sort of how the shovel-ready sites work. And that would be used to attract the type of development that the town desires in the locations that's suited for it. Also aiming for smaller housing developments rather than a large-scale development with many units. In many ways, it makes sense for new housing stock to be smaller scale and sprinkled throughout the community so that it's not so big or out of scale with the community, but it fits in and it blends in with the community a little bit more. And that also is an opportunity for some adaptive reuse, some fixing up of vacant properties, and so forth, rather than coming in and building new if we have some empty homes elsewhere. Consider creating a new zoning designation for mixed-use multifamily. Currently, there isn't anything in the zoning for that right now. This would be ground floor commercial with apartments above a sort of specific typology that would work in sort of some of the hamlet centers or the hamlet center. Providing greater support for artist housing. Adopting the planning board's draft neighborhood commercial, the NC and LI, light industrial zones, adopting those draft changes into a zoning law. Continuing efforts to enforce short-term rental controls such as Airbnb or home away. They're becoming a growing phenomenon, and trying to address the pros and cons that those bring to every community is something that's very important. Reviewing the residential cluster development code for desired density to help protect environmentally sensitive areas. Also, foster a program of innovative housing initiatives such as home sharing, co-housing, and rent-to-buy properties so that there are other financial options out there. Reviewing the zoning code for updates which will increase housing options. And improving the zoning compliance for special permit uses, site plan review, enforcement of signs and exterior lighting, and upholding the town court zoning violations that are issued by the enforcement officer. This is specifically toward the idea of enforcing the town laws that we have in place. Assigning the functions of the building inspector and the zoning enforcement officer to different people, rather than having one person to play with both hats. The community should continue to support and expand activity programs for youth and seniors. Also, supporting the Woodstock Recreation Task Force to help guide a variety of recreation, leisure, and education-based activities. These are activities, again, speaking toward trying to attract and keep younger families and people in town, and also seniors, but providing these, expanding on these existing activities and programs would be a great way to try and address that. Creating and updating specific design standards for the town, which would help to keep Woodstock attractive to residents and visitors alike. Also, collaborating with the local Chamber of Commerce and Ulster County Economic Development to attract specifically desired businesses in Woodstock, such as a supermarket that would be needed to cater to locals, something that's we heard very often. So these weren't all of the points in here, but I wanted to sort of give a sampling of how the comp plan works and some of the recommendations under each of the categories. Sort of in summary, if you will, the idea, the big picture idea here is strengthening the arts and cultural community because that's an asset of the town, preserving scenic and natural resources, meeting the town's present and future infrastructure needs, addressing the need for a variety or diversity of housing options, protecting the community character, encouraging renewable energy use, ensuring recreational facilities that meet the needs of all the population here, and promoting new business and economic diversity throughout the town. I think between these different ideas, we've largely, I believe, captured the essence of what the town of Woodstock's vision is, and it's been a great deal of work trying to put all this together. But I think that the next steps at this point are, now that we have this final draft that has been put together by the advisory committee in our office, we would now like to physically hand it over to the town board town board's next steps is to consider moving forward an adoption on this. Now there needs to be some state environmental quality review, seeker review of it. It's going to take some time. But the town board and the comprehensive plan committee would hold a joint public hearing at some point. If they were looking to proceed, the public hearing would be the option to looking at for adoption, and that would be the next step. And so without, I don't know what happened to the copies. I can,
But I have them on deck.
there we go. Handing it over to you guys, and we also have the electronic copies. But again, I wanted to thank Kurt Ritchie, who I believe has a materials and so forth we want to hand over.
Sure. Michael, thank you. Thank you very much. So we want to give each of the town board members a copy of this plan. That Michael has just given it to somebody else. And then with it, the committee wanted to provide a cover letter, right? And in the cover letter, which I will read briefly, you know, you're being patient this evening, aren't you all? Thank you. So with this more of a ceremony where we're just handing the town board our comprehensive plan. Jackie, do I have one for you too? I think I do. And this, you have one, Bill? Laura? Officially, yeah. And the letter, the cover letter is written for a couple reasons. We feel like it was important to point out some major elements that we feel are worth mentioning. Did you get one already? Okay. That's good. Jackie, did you get one? I'm sorry. So what I'll do is just briefly read some of the points on the letter. Because there's part of the letter speaks to what the comprehensive plan represents. The other part speaks to the town board themselves, and the third part is addressed to the community. So I'll just read this briefly to you. For over 2 years, volunteers have, on 3 separate committees, have focused on Woodstock's comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan committee has now completed its work. And the comprehensive plan, which represents the town's vision for its future and recommendations to achieve that vision, is now in the hands of the town board for consideration of adoption and ultimately for recognition by New York State. As the town board begins to review its review process, we ask that you consider the collaborative work that has created this document. For the first 7 months, the comprehensive plan committee worked to gather input from all the committee, from all the town residents, from employees, managers of the town, and all this information is gathered and is now in this comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan committee volunteers, the 2 town board members who acted as liaisons to the town board, and every town employee and residents who contributed both the energy and oftentimes the passion to this project. In this spirit, we ask that each town board member commit their own energy and passion in the adoption of this plan. Despite and perhaps because of the history of our town's inaction in adopting this plan, please do not ignore this crucial step. Woodstock needs to have this comprehensive plan adopted by the town board. Our future and the funding of the efforts in this plan depends upon it. This comprehensive plan, as Michael just pointed out, recommends a number of different committees and task force. Each of these groups and committees require the commitment of volunteers and the support and the direction of the town board. The comprehensive plan believes that the vision is contained in this comprehensive plan will only be possible when town residents take ownership of the town's future and volunteer to participate in these efforts. It is up to each of us to create our town's future. And so the members of the comprehensive of this committee, we are proud for the work that we represent of this comprehensive plan. And we now hand this plan over to you, the town board. Please conduct a thorough and timely review and complete the final step of adoption of this comprehensive plan. Thank you. Ron, do you have a few words you'd like to add?
Yeah, I wanted to share, as one of the liaisons to the Comprehensive Plan Committee, and a member of the town board, I wanted to give my personal thanks to every committee member on the Comprehensive Plan Committee. I'm a professional project manager, Kirk is a professional project manager. I can say project manager. I recognize the complexity of this task, the enormity of this task, and hats off to Kirk for his leadership. Kirk, I can tell you, always knew when to listen, and he knew when to reel everybody in and keep us moving. Masterful leadership of the committee. I want to thank Grace Murphy, our lead writer. What you'll see when you read the plan is Grace's name says lead writer. She didn't start out as lead writer. It was her commitment to excellence. And if it wasn't really at this high standard, if it wasn't quite where it ought to be, she put herself into it. And I want to thank Grace for having that high standard of excellence that helped this plan rise up as it went through its evolutions. You'll see, Iris, you are also lead editor. Iris didn't start out with that title. She earned that title, just like Grace earned that title through the process. Whereas we had many parts of the document, many iterations of the parts, and Iris, I think, was the one who read, if not every word, almost every word of every iteration, always providing value. I want to thank Iris for her contribution. I want to also thank Ann Carlton and Alice Latowski, who are relative newcomers, but also brought a good perspective from having been other places. So I wanted to thank both Ann and Alice for adding their voice to the conversations. Brian Ross, as a business, running a business in town, added a good perspective there. Paul Schultes Jr. I've worked with Paul on the planning board, delighted to work with him on the comprehensive planning committee. There may be people that know the zoning laws as much as Paul does. Nobody knows them better than Paul. He was totally valuable every step of the way, and we turned to him lots to give his perspective, and thank you to Paul. Special contributor Jerry Washington. Jerry was not an official member of the comprehensive planning committee, and I don't think he missed a meeting. I don't remember a meeting that I was at, and I was at a lot of them, where Jerry was, where he missed. He was there, and he earned that title of special contributor based on consistent, ongoing, valuable contributions on aquifer, on mapping, and a number of areas. So I wanted to give a personal thank you to Jerry Washington for being there and being part of the effort. Kathy and I, as town board liaisons, were there throughout the whole process. Well, in fact, we voted for the process to begin with, because we were part of the votes that set this all in motion. But in any event, so we were certainly very active throughout the process, and we were not voting members. Jerry, Kathy, and I were not voting members, but we were always listened to, and that was the way this comprehensive plan committee operated, was listening to us, listening to the people of the town, listening to fire hall meetings and community meetings, listening. So we were certainly listened to, even though we were not voting members. Also on this page, when you get the document, you'll see Behan on there. Thanks to Behan, there's Michael right there, for providing an infrastructure, providing guidance, helping get these meetings off the ground, and really helping us, shepherding us forward in this process. So it was clearly a team effort, and as Kurt has already acknowledged, the next thank you goes to all the people of Woodstock, all the subject matter experts that came to the comprehensive plan committee meetings, all of the townspeople who came to the fire hall meetings, all the townspeople that came to the whole community meetings, because our goal was not to create a plan for the town of Woodstock, it was to create a comprehensive plan with the town of Woodstock. And it was everybody's contribution, everybody across the town. This is what it's reflective of, is people didn't just sit in a room and say, oh, here's an idea, I'm putting it on this page. There were all these meetings and all this listening, and that's where this plan came from. It came from a lot of listening, which I think was great for the comprehensive plan committee and Kirk as a leader. As Kirk says, and my final statement is, as Kirk says, the next step, the most important step, is adoption. It's through that we're going to be more eligible for grants. It's through that, when you have an adopted plan, every committee, everybody that works in the town of Woodstock, whether a volunteer or employee, it's the comprehensive plan that guides them on what is the town looking to do. This plan came from the people, and so once we have an adopted plan, people can use it as guidance, and also we can use it for grants. There's a lot of goodness to when we reach the critical next phase. And I know I've talked to Bill, I know he's committed to that as well. But anyway, I just wanted to say a few words from having been on the committee. I wanted to call out each member who contributed on the committee because a fabulous group, fabulous work.
Thank you, Laura. With that, are there any questions, comments? Paul?
I'm sort of shocked as the Vice President of the Chamber of Commerce that nothing, zero, was given to the merchants of Woodstock. It wasn't seen as a draw, and it is. It wasn't seen as an economic generator, which it is. We have great stores, we have great restaurants. They were completely omitted from this plan, and I'd like to know why.
Well, we actually, the Chamber of Commerce came to the committee
We know.
and presented to us.
Yeah.
And we embraced a lot of the ideas that were exchanged that evening, and there was some information and data that was provided to us. So I don't fully accept your point that we didn't include you because we communicated with members of your committee.
You
There's some words right here.
committed, you talked to one person, Randy, and that's fine.
There's some words right here.
Excuse me, when I looked at this and I saw all the positives, I saw nothing about merchants. I saw nothing about restaurants. I'm here to represent them, and I'm telling you, as a representative, I'm really upset, and so will our members be once we let them know that we're not considered at all.
Well, I know that Michael's presentation, I think you're going off of Michael's presentation.
Exactly. What else can I go on?
If you read the plan, I think you'll see that you are in there. Perhaps it needs to be strengthened, but I think you'll see you are in there.
Well, one thing I wanted to make note of, and I'm sorry, I just wanted to point out that all of this information, the comprehensive plan, the survey, the inventory that was used as a reference, all of this will be on the website, on the town website, and available for everyone to read. Beginning tomorrow, it'll be on that site, on the site. But we want to take your comments and understand them. And so, please understand that we've strived to embrace what most of this town was speaking of. There was months and months of opportunity to articulate what this town really needed. We gave plenty of opportunity for that to occur. And we feel that this plan does capture a lot of the business needs and the requirements. It's also, maybe you'll have a chance to speak further once you have a chance to look at the document.
It really doesn't, and I'm curious, with all the other plans you do for other cities, do you not embrace the merchants or the restaurants?
No, we listen to what the community has said, and we try to incorporate that as much as possible in the plans. And I believe one of the things, there are a couple of areas in the draft plan that talk about improving wayfinding signage, and so visitors to town can find parking, can find restrooms, can find various attractions around the town. And that was an element, I believe it's covered a couple of times in the comprehensive plan. And we felt that making it easy for visitors to come to Woodstock, find their way around, find what they're looking for, and maybe find stuff that they didn't know they were looking for, is an important part. So I believe that's how we address
that for a number of years. This is not new.
Well, here's your chance to implement it.
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
All right, I said it.
Just one at a time.
Well, if you're going to keep going, that's your opportunity. I mean, the whole comprehensive plan is, we can't write everything out for every specific part of Woodstock.
It's a big
So, no,
part of
let me
Woodstock.
finish. I understand, but there's a lot you guys could do for town also. I've walked through Woodstock the last 2 weeks, and I think it's pretty ugly. I don't see where the stores do a lot to beautify their stores or anything. So it can work both ways.
Excuse me.
But the whole idea behind the comprehensive plan is that it gives recommendations, and then you as the Chamber of Commerce can actually step up, look at those recommendations, and implement them. Take action.
If you talk to
Take
Bill,
action
if you talk to
forward.
Bill,
Wait a minute. Take
you'll
action
hear
forward.
that we have talked about this many times.
Well, now you have a
outside.
plan that helps guide you
That's
there.
fine, but it's
Okay?
not.
We talked about parking for the Hamlet. What we could do for
Okay,
parking, we
okay.
talked about sidewalks,
Paul.
we talked about signage. The only thing we can do
Paul.
is bring buses and bring people to your stores for you. That's the only thing we didn't do.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a town board meeting.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other comments?
I'd just like to say one thing. It seemed to me that you spoke a lot about economic development to draw people to Woodstock, to brand it, which I don't like at all, and all this cooperation between artists to make a brand, because many artists want to live and work separately, but they contribute to the community. But anyway, so I totally disagree with you. I mean, this plan gives a lot to, you know, the town commercial viability. But what I wanted to say that, and this is probably going to be refined, but I want to remind people about this, and I do not live within the center of town in these small residential neighborhoods, but they are not suitable for what you describe as what kind of street?
Complete streets.
Yeah, complete street. There should be a lanes district that protects the scale of these small enclaves because they're very important to the character of Woodstock.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm taking notes here, part of the team, John. I missed what you said. What kind of a district? What kind of a district?
Lanes district.
A lane, like a laneway?
You know,
Walking way, yeah, I get it.
Pine Grove Lane,
A quiet,
Library
a
Lane.
quiet street.
They can't become the bigger streets with all, you know, because they're not suitable. You would ruin the character.
Right. And because, just real quick, because you haven't read the document yet, right?
I have not.
And so, when you look at it, and I just want to, my dad had a school, it was called the Watertown School of Commerce. Yeah, I'm John Behan, I'm part of the Behans. It's part of this. He ran a business called Watertown School of Commerce up in Watertown, and just a little, one of the things we used to do is where do these words come from? And I bet you, there's maybe not many of us here who know the word commerce just comes from two words. One is a Latin word for merchants, merchandising, right? And the other is coming together, right? And I would just ask, if you would, when you read the plan, because you haven't had a chance, read the plan. I think this is a draft, and I think it's really important if you keep an open mind and present all of this as a way to, if there's refinements that are needed, if something's not emphasized enough, the board will hear it, and there's things that can be made and emphasized more. I do think the commerce of the town is underlying everything here, right? And so is the quality of life is underlying everything. So if there's something missing that really needs to be emphasized, we do want to hear it because we want to make sure it's in there. We think it's in there, but if it's not, we want to hear it so it can be, understood. But I just want to say that that part of it. Just keep an open mind, because I do think as leaders, if you present it a certain way, right, you present the plan as, oh, it's missing something, well, maybe it's not. And if it is missing something, let's work together, commerce, come together, and what do we need to do, right, to make it work? Because I think that's what it's all about, right, in the town. I think we really want to make sure that it works and that it hits the notes, because otherwise this thing really needs to stay on that high plane and working together, right? Okay, thank you.
We kind of stumbled onto this meeting. We weren't supposed to be here. We came because we were told by our neighbors that this was a Rick Volz meeting. And so that's why we're here. But then it became so interesting, we stayed. And what I would like to say is after hearing all about this comprehensive plan, to me it sounds like it's going to trickle down. Like if you put in more public transportation, if you put in better sidewalks, if you put in bike paths, if you make sure the water's clean, if you make sure there's more recreational activities, this is going to bring people to town. Those people are going to shop in town. So, to me, I think the merchants are going to be taken care of by just bringing people into town. So to me, it's kind of like a win-win situation if everybody just kind of, if you put if you build it, they will come. And if they come, they bring their credit cards. And so I think everybody gets to win.
Thank you.
So I'm actually glad we stayed and it wasn't bad.
We are too. Any other comments from the public? Going once, Going twice? 3 times? Okay, I'm going to offer a resolution then. Whereas the town of Woodstock has been developing the town of Woodstock comprehensive plan, and whereas 6 NYCRR section 617.5, title 6 of the New York Code of Rules and Regulations, under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, provides for environmental review of such actions under the Environmental Conservation Law. And whereas the town board, with the assistance of Behan Planning and Design, has prepared a long format environmental assessment form, EAF, attached by reference, which designates the town board as lead agency in accordance with the New York State secret regulations. And whereas it has been determined that the Woodstock Town Board is the only agency with authority to adopt the town comprehensive plan, and therefore the only appropriate body to act as lead agency for this action, now therefore be it resolved that the Woodstock Town Board hereby declares itself lead agency for the purpose of environmental review for the proposed action, and the circulating copies of this notice, the completed EAF, and the draft comprehensive plan to the following involved or interested agencies for review and comment. Town of Woodstock Planning Board, Town of Woodstock Environmental Commission, Ulster County Planning Board, Town Board of the Town of Shandaken, Town Board of the Town of Olive, Town Board of the Town of Hurley, Town Board of the Town of Kingston, Town Board of the Town of Ulster, Town Board of the Town of Saugerties, and Town Board of the Town of Hunter.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The process has started. Thank you, gentlemen. So I guess in the beginning, we skipped public be heard. Jackie, do you have the list?
Jake Ross.
Jay, you still here? Yeah. Thanks for letting me know, Alex.
Hi, I'm Nick Ross. I'm a resident of Woodstock for 45 years. I want to start by apologizing to the town board. We have done our sorry, so it's a lack of date on the task force project that is trying to be done at Great Falls Field. It is not a park, it is always a field. It is our town aquifer land that has 2 wells on it and a pump. The town has done a good job for 75 years on protecting this land. I also believe there should have been an environmental review on the property, even if it was condemned, and carefully read all the exceptions before any of the projects were started. The wells are only 26 feet deep. The land has already been overbuilt. And every time a tree is cut or fill is brought in to build something, it changes the natural flow of groundwater to the wells and puts more stress on the wells. Human activity is the #1 cause of water contamination. So as a town, we should be trying to expand the use of this land. I think the town's #1 goal should be to protect the land. It's a great natural resource, and it is the most important one that everyone needs to live a good life with clean water. There is no one person at any level that can 100% guarantee us as a town that a water source would not be put at risk of contamination with more human activity on the property. This land is not the place to build into a town park. It does need to be maintained better. I do support the Little League that does play baseball there, but I want us as a town to support and protect our clean drinking water more than anything else. Thank you.
Jay, just so you're aware, this plan has been forwarded to the town engineer here in Lavos. He was away on vacation, but he understands our water system as well as anyone, probably better. And so he's going to be making a review and recommendations. We also, I think the planning board actually asked if we would be sending it to the planning board, and then they will do a secret, it will go through that process.
Okay, just a little quick statement. I have talked to the DEC, the DEP, the Department of Health, and the EPA, and everyone has told me, all the officials that I have talked to said that there shouldn't be any vehicles parked within 200 feet of our wells. So, like I said, to try to turn it into a kind of a park to be used on a instantly kills grass like sulfuric acid. And I have, anybody parks on their grass after they run their AC, the next day they walk out and they're like, where's my grass from? Looks like my dog peed on it. And it stays like that for 6 to 8 weeks. No doubt about that. So,
Thank you, Jay.
sorry.
Thanks, Jay.
I'm sorry.
Thanks for coming back.
Gentlemen, who's next?
Michael, stop it, you'll shake all our hands, we'll let you speak.
It's interesting to see you see not thinking about that, and how much in that plan leads to the direction of what this committee is trying to do. And it talks about community involvement, community utilizing the recreation facility. So I hope we pass everything that's in there. But having said that, this committee had a goal that was given by the town board and the supervisor to try and plan the use of this property. It was never our intention to divide the community. Never our intention to put neighbor against neighbor. And for that reason, we are withdrawing the additional uses of that property until such time as we refer to the engineer, makes a recommendation on how to accomplish that somewhere in town. Most importantly, we support the quality and the quantity of water that this town needs on that site and at other sites within the town. I hope that the town will put energy towards that goal, as a comprehensive plan indicates as well. We could save ourselves a lot of, toil and aggravation having an idea that this was not going to be received as well as, and I apologize if anyone was offended by that. It was not our intention. Ours was to bring the community together to use the facility, not just for that community, but throughout the town. And in order to make this, the rest of this project complete, which has been the most important through the years since Rick Bolt has been established, Little League is the most important issue for us. It's one of the things that does bring families together, the town together. So we hope, having said that we will pass the referendum for funding to match the commitments we had to build, finish the bathroom, which is a handicap bathroom, which we don't have, and eliminate porta-johns, which is great for near your wells, because they get knocked over by vandalism and kids playing and horsing around. Finish this project at the level that it is, and if the town wants us to buy some new equipment for the park, we'll investigate that. We've got brochures, we've been to the town board, available to anybody in the public, and we'll continue on that road. This time, I see no reason why we can't complete what we started, and we can get permission for we need to fund it, so you can pass that to Mr. President.
So when you say, where you started is the bathrooms, that you have the pavilion, but you consider that not started yet, the pavilion is part of what
The
you...
village has started.
Right, so you're going to complete the pavilion eventually?
Yeah, we already gave us permission to do that.
Okay.
And that works in conjunction with the used by the families to play this.
Okay, and I just want to point out, page 42 of the comp plan does give us recreation. So your task force is to read through the comp plan and look at page 42 and 43. It's
We didn't need that to do it. We tried to accomplish. We want to accomplish what you put in that plan before you do this out.
Yeah.
And that's the intent here, to have this become a community useful leasing land. So there's going to be no basketball court, there'll be no volleyball court, there'll be no horseshoe, hockey court, all the things that raise concern. What the property is being used for now, it will continue to be used only with improvements. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dorothea Marcus.
Anyway, I just wanted, I'm president of the board of the Woodstock Library, and I just wanted to bring the town board and the public present here up to date on, we have like 4 major things happening within less than a month from today. 4 really important dates. 2 nights from tonight, on Thursday, August 16th, at our regular board meeting, we'll be passing a resolution on the date and place for the referendum on special district status for the library, the petitions have. So that has to be passed by the board and be announced on Thursday night. A week from Saturday, on Saturday, August 25th, here in this community center, starting at 8:30 in the morning, we'll have coffee and refreshments. We're going to have the 3 architects who are the finalists from the design competition. Bradwell, Janet Null, and Steve Tilley. They're each going to present in detail designs and models for different approaches to a possible new library for Woodstock. Each presentation will be about an hour, and there will be ample time for questions from the board as well as from the public about the designs specifically. And there will be breaks, and people can, if you can't come for the whole morning, we expect to be done around 1:30. There will be breaks, or you can come for just one or two of them. We're going to videotape the presentations, and it'll be like a Netflix. You can binge it on our YouTube channel. You can watch, Bradwell one night and Janet Null the next, and Steve Tilley the following night.
You should talk to Carrie, maybe get it on the...
We're going to get it on Channel 23 also. We're also going to have it on Channel 23, but that'll be a continuous thing. But you can decide if you want to watch them all at once or spread it out. And we're also going to have, at the event, there'll be cards for the public to write down questions about the designs for the architects, and any questions we don't have time for on the 25th. The architects will be emailing responses that will appear on our website. The models will be available at the library for 2 weeks after that for people to come look at them and miss the meeting. And then we're also, and as I say, you can watch the video. And then on Thursday, September 13th, we're having a special public be heard meeting about the 3 designs. It'll be 2 hours or more if needed, just to get people's impressions about these 3 designs. And I also wanted to mention there are feedback forms that have been developed for people to give detailed comments on each design, and they'll be available on August 25th and also at the library when people come to look at the models and on our website. We're expecting the local paper also will be, space permitted, will be showing the designs and maybe the Freeman as well. And then, but before September 13th, on Thursday, September 6th, the Thursday after Labor Day, is our annual trustee election and budget vote. And as always, that goes on from noon to 9 p.m. at the library. But absentee ballots are available at the library now. You can also download an application for one from the library website. And you can bring the absentee ballot to the library or mail it in up until Wednesday, the day before. You can't bring it in Thursday because you're supposed to be absentee. In other words, you have to vote in person. So anyway, so we have a lot going on. It's not a sleepy summer for us. So I have copies of this for everyone. And I don't know if any of these events can be put on the town calendar or...
If Jessica calls Kevin to March, you can take it over till that.
To the channel 23?
Yeah.
Yes. Very good. Anyone else want a copy of anything? Yes.
Okay. Jack? That's it?
Right, I know that, but, the more people voting in the library.
So I do have one announcement. Next week, we anticipate construction will start on the Reynolds Lane culvert. So that road is going to be closed. Detour will be, if you go a little further up the road, Church Road, will bring you right back down to Church, to Reynolds Lane. So it's not too much of a detour. And it's anticipated that project's going to be about 6 weeks to 2 months.
When's the hearing again?
Next Wednesday evening. You're going to have to drive around.
What's happening with the town?
The Millville? They, what's that? Just, you're having a hard time hearing up at the table. So, they have about another week and a half of piping, and then they'll be starting blacktop. So it is going slow. I mean, every day that it rains, they weren't there last night. You know, part of the reason either if it only rains, first, if it's raining at the beginning of the night, I mean, they go home. They don't wait around. They'll wait around a little bit. But the other problem is when there's a lot of heavy rain, even if the rain stops and they start to dig, with all that water the hard clay is now turned to wood, which means nothing gets packed properly. So that means, were they to continue and push it along, we would end up with a bad project. So, I know it's taken longer. The Ohio Mountain Road project, that's a county project. That one's also, they were about 2 days from having the footings poured, and they would have been out of the water level. Instead, they got inundated. It's been 3 weeks, and I think they just got the footings. Pull that right now. I think they just got the footings poured for that today.
A lot of cement trucks.
A lot of cement trucks. So now it's going to be about 2 to 3 weeks to get the walls built, and then they'll be putting the road back together. So, all right, so with that, I have a couple more resolutions here. Be it resolved to authorize the Woodstock Town Supervisor to sign an intermunicipal agreement for the sharing of information relating to the short-term rental projects between the County of Ulster and the Town of Woodstock.
Second.
So just for the public, the county went out and purchased an expensive computer software program to allow them to track short-term rental units. And actually, I think they've located somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,600 in the county as a whole, 439 which are in Woodstock. So we have by far the largest amounts.
We have roughly 25% of the short-term rentals in the county, and approximately 4% of the population.
With that,
Everybody loves Woodstock.
Lori, was that?
No, I'm sorry. I
Okay.
just want to say, what this does is, you should explain that further. The county is going to begin assessing bed tax, and that's what this agreement is about. And that,
Bed tax and sales tax.
and so what happens, what's going to happen is, once we institute regulations and registration for short-term rentals, it's going to be a requirement that you also kind of be in touch with the county and sign up. You're going to be registered with the county. These are businesses that we
All in favor? Aye. Whereas on or about February 19, 2015, the highway superintendents of the townships of Hurley, Ulster, Shandaken, and Woodstock jointly purchased a used street sweeper. And the town of Woodstock entered into a municipal agreement for the purchase and operation of said sweeper. And whereas said sweeper was involved in an accident and has been rendered permanently inoperative. And whereas it is prudent that the town of Woodstock formally withdraw from said municipal agreement, as the purpose for said agreement is now moot, therefore be it resolved that the Woodstock Town Board as follows. Section 1, each whereas paragraph above is incorporated into this section 1 and made a part hereof that is material and operative provisions of this resolution. The town board of the town of Woodstock hereby directs the town supervisor and the town highway superintendent to execute any more required documents so as to withdraw the town of Woodstock from the aforesaid municipal agreements.
Second.
All in favor? Unfortunately, that accident happened in Woodstock where they were sweeping, actually they were driving along up on Glasgow Turnpike and somebody came down the road in the wrong lane and ran them into a ditch and kept going. So, in any event, I believe
Copy
they're
the
probably
audio
going to go out
again.
for another
I wasn't prepared for that.
sweeper at some point.
Okay.
Be it resolved to waive the fees for the floodplain development permit applications for the Ulster County Ohio Mountain Road Project and New York State DOT
Let me
Route 212 Mill Hill
get your
Road
email.
Project.
I don't have email, you can call me.
Okay.
Ellen likes to be tight on bookkeeping with this floodplain stuff, so she's just keeping a record. Technically, the state and county are both exempt from any of this. But she does keep a record of it, and it's good to have. So just for her records, we have this waiving of fees to explain the paperwork.
Well, are they doing a, so they're exempt from the permit, it's sell. So where
They
do
don't, no, they're filling out the permit.
Oh,
We're waiving the fees.
Gotcha. Perfect. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
This resolution, we're going to have to redo next week because I don't have all the particulars right now, but I wanted to get a jump on this. Be it resolved to appoint Thomas Sigler, a 30-day full-time police officer for the town of Woodstock. Yes.
Well, I thought you were saying you want to do it next week.
We will have to redo it next week.
Oh, okay.
I want to get a jump on it.
Is it effective immediately?
Yes, effectively.
Did we did again, Thomas Sigler is
Be it resolved to appoint Thomas Sigler, a 30-day full-time police officer for the town of Woodstock, effective today.
I'll say I'm the first discussion. So we needed another officer, obviously.
We'll talk later. Let's talk later.
Okay, I think we
All
already did.
Yes. So, all in favor?
Aye.
That's it. Any comments from the board?
I just want to remind people that Saturday is Volunteers Day.
And fireworks.
And I think we saw a good example of what it's about today. You know, people ask why we keep talking about, you want to come to short-term rentals and other things, why we keep talking about community and neighborhoods. Without those communities and neighborhoods, we don't have volunteers like comprehensive plan committee. Without them, we don't have Woodstock. So celebrate the volunteers. So it'll be Volunteers Day, however the board of date, and fireworks, whoever gets going.
And dust.
They may not get there. They don't accept these things.
Okay? Any other comments? I make a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing a police personnel issue.
Second.